Hey everyone, if you're not familiar with me, my name is Warchamp7 and I'm one of the main contributors to the OBS project. I'm not really the sort of person to create video content like this, but with everything going on this week, I thought it might be a great time to share some tips for OBS Studio. First and foremost, before I get into this, I want to thank everybody who's been supportive of the team this week. Our volunteer contributors work incredibly hard for the community, and it's been heartwarming and a little overwhelming to see the response. This video is not to talk about that though. Over the past few years, as I've talked to friends about OBS and kind of guided them through setting it all up, I've created a kind of ad-libbed crash course for a lot of the awesome features that the program has. This video is not going to be scripted or like edited in any way. It's just kind of me rambling over a bunch of neat things that I think a lot of people might not know about OBS. It might end up as a incoherent mess, but that's okay if you learn anything new from it. So with that being said, let's get into it. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open OBS. And right off the bat, I get this little warning saying that OBS is already running. I'm actually recording this video with OBS, and I'm going to open a second instance for actually showing off features and stuff. You can run as many copies as you want. Obviously, if you're streaming twice or recording twice, it's going to be more of a performance cost on your computer. So there's not really a lot of cases where you might want to do this. But if you're, say recording an explanation on how to do something in OBS, it might make sense to have a second copy open. The one thing I will note is that if you are going to use two copies, I suggest having two different scene collections. If you have both copies open on the same scene collection, basically whichever OBS you close second is going to be what gets saved. So if you make changes in both copies, whichever one you close second is going to be the one that saves last and thus ends up with those changes. So I don't really recommend people do this unless you really have to, but it is a cool thing that you can do with OBS, and that's kind of going to be the theme of this video. Next thing you might notice is that my OBS might look a little bit different from yours. If you've never kind of poked around the settings, OBS does have themes. I'm currently using the Acri theme, and we've got a couple that come bundled with the program. There's other users who have made themes that you can find, on the internet or even on our forums. We have a resource section. You can download other themes that people have created. You can use them and, customize things a little bit more. Talking a little bit more about customizability. OBS is obviously a very complicated program. It's very complex. There's a lot you can do. And I know that can be a little intimidating to people, but it does give you a lot of power to kind of do whatever you want. So the first thing I'll talk about with that is the docs system. If you go to the view menu, there's a section for docs, and you'll see all of these ones are checked off by default. This is kind of the way that OBS is first presented to you when you open it. You have the scenes doc, the sources doc, the audio mixer, your transitions doc, and your controls doc. All docs in the program can be, moved around and either kept as a pop-out window if you prefer, or they can be docked, elsewhere in the program. So if you want to have, your scene list on the left, and your sources list below that, and, your controls doc with the scene transitions on top, you can get kind of like a more square layout like this. You can customize this however you want. Docs can be stacked on top of each other. So if you want to have your transitions and your mixer in the same place and you only want to look at one at a time, you can stack them. You can switch between them with a little tabbed interface at the bottom here that I'm blocking. Like I said, this is not really scripted. You can switch between the tabs here. You can change the order of the tabs if you want to put a bunch of them in the same place. There's really, you can really customize it to your heart's content. And we'll go into a little bit more detail about some of the other docs that you can get in a little bit. Before that, I want to talk about profiles. Profiles are basically how all of your OBS settings are saved. So for example, what your canvas is set to, mine is currently set to 1920 by 1080, your video frame rate, 30 FPS, 60 FPS, your streaming settings, whatever platform you're streaming to, that's all saved in your settings profile. So you can have multiple profiles. You can duplicate if you have a profile with a lot of the settings you want to reuse, but you want to stream to, say, a different platform. You can duplicate your profile, just change the platform, and it'll carry over the settings that you duplicated it with. Personally, I have a few profiles for recording, which is what my other copy is running right now. Some testing ones. I have a 4K profile just for more testing, and I have my own personal Twitch and YouTube profiles for going to either of those platforms. The one thing that is not saved in your profile is your scene collection. So your scene collection is your assortment of scenes that you've set up in OBS and the sources that you've configured within them. Scenes and sources are kind of like the basics of OBS. There's a lot of guides out there that will explain that to you. But adding a source is just the various different things that you can capture in OBS for recording or streaming. You can add images, you can capture games. There's a color source if you just need to have like a solid color box anywhere. I'm currently doing that for the webcam. I just have the webcam on top of a white box to create kind of this like little border. Webcams, capture cards are all video capture devices. You can add text. You can even add other scenes as sources. So you can set up a scene with your webcam, put a nice little frame on it, maybe like your sub count on top of that frame, and then you can just call that like your webcam scene, and you can put that in other scenes as a scene. And you can basically nest this infinitely, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later when I get into my personal profile. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch to my Twitch profile. This is going to do a couple things. First off, my layout's going to change a little bit because I have my Twitch account connected inside OBS, which gives me access to Twitch chat, my Twitch stats doc, Twitch activity feed, stream information, so you can update your stream title and the game that you're playing, all from within OBS. And you can turn these docs on and off from the docs menu, or you can pop them out, you can move them around if you want your chat on the right over here. You can close this if you just want to hide it, if you don't want to look at it, and you can always get back to it from the docs menu. For connecting your account, it's in the settings and the stream tab. So for Twitch, you would just choose Twitch, and there'll be like a nice little connect account button. That'll open up a page for you to log in, connect your account to OBS, and then you'll get access to all these direct integrations. If you're a fan of Franker Faces or Better Twitch TV, there is support for that, so you can actually have those emotes show up in your chat. I personally use Franker Faces and then use the BTTV add-on pack, but if you want to have everything from both, you can do that. And that's just in the stream menu after you've connected your Twitch account. Next thing to talk about, on top of the docs that we will kind of load for you, if you connect your account to say Twitter stuff, you can add your own docs as well. So if you go to the docs menu, there is a custom browser docs window. This will let you add basically any website that you want to. Keep in mind you are loading a website, so you should only go to things that you trust. But if, for example, you want to be able to tweet before you go live for a stream, you can set up a doc named Twitter, and I'll put in the URL for twitter.com. And when I hit apply, this is going to create a new browser doc inside OBS. So if I close the custom browser docs menu, I can dock this in the UI. I don't know why Twitter's not loading. This is not great for an unscripted video. Okay, it was just too tiny. Yeah, you can have Twitter inside OBS. You can log into your account. It'll be waiting for you when you close OBS and open it again. We remember like your sessions and your logins, like any other browser would. And then you can just you can tweet you're going live and keep this like tabbed with your chat. And so once you're done, you can just switch to your chat, and it's hidden. It's just running in the background, and you can kick off your stream that way. Lots of things you can do with this. Obviously, one of the biggest ones is that if you're using an alert service, you might want to add some of their specific docs into OBS, like the activity feed, media requests, and other stuff like that. If the dashboard for that alert service has a way to pop out that window, you can just copy that pop-out link and set it up as a custom browser doc in OBS, and you can have it all in one nice little window, all in one place. What next? I guess I will mention that we OBS as of version 27.1, we do have YouTube integration as well now. So you can connect your account with YouTube directly. I need to make that open in a different window. So this is going to happen off screen. I'm going to click the account I want to log in with. I'm going to choose my channel. I'm going to hit allow to give OBS access to it. And now my YouTube account is connected. I'm going to hit apply, and it's going to give me a YouTube chat doc. I'm going to stick that over here. So once I start streaming, chat will appear. And this adds a whole bunch of stuff specific to YouTube, so you can set up a YouTube broadcast fully within OBS as of one of the most recent versions. Depending when you're watching this, it might have been out for a little while now. But you can create new broadcasts, you can set thumbnails, description, titles, the privacy, all this stuff from within OBS. And you can go live right away, or you can save that broadcast for later and select it from your existing list, and then you can start streaming. So I'm going to go back to my Twitch profile. And I am next going to talk about the virtual camera. OBS now built in has a virtual camera which will show up in other applications as a webcam. So if you have, I'll just add an empty color source here so you get this gray box. If you turn on the virtual camera, you can then go to other applications, set up or go into the settings to choose your video device, and you will have an option for OBS virtual camera. If the virtual camera is not running, it will look like this. And then if you go into OBS and you hit start virtual camera, it'll start outputting whatever is in your OBS output as your virtual camera. So you can put your webcam here, put a nice little overlay on top of it, like a lower third. You can make yourself look really fancy, in your Zoom calls or any other video conferencing solution that lets you pick a webcam. You can basically output from OBS to a virtual webcam device, and this is built into OBS as well, officially now. This comes with the program. There is also a community made plugin that allows you to do a little bit more. The official virtual camera only lets you output what OBS is kind of looking at, like your actual output. But the plugin will let you output anything, either an individual source, any specific scene. So if you need more control, there is an awesome community plugin that will let you do more. The next thing I want to talk about is the replay buffer. So if you go into your settings and you go to the output tab and you set it to advanced, there's a tab here for the replay buffer, and you can either enable it or disable it if you end up wanting to use it. What this does is when you enable it, you can set a maximum replay time. And once you set that, if you hit start replay buffer, you can configure a hotkey or click a button in the UI where every time you hit that hotkey or hit the save button, it will basically save that many seconds to a file. So if you set it to say 30 seconds, anytime you click that button or hit your hotkey, it will save the last 30 seconds of video that you recorded to a file. And so you can do clips like this, highlights. You have a really cool moment in a game. You set your replay buffer to 30, 40 seconds, and then instead of having to scrub through your entire recording, you can just kind of go through the 30 seconds from before it happened up to a little bit after to when you hit the button to save it. Next thing I want to talk about is projectors. So OBS has the ability to give you a multi-view. It's not really going to do much with this kind of empty scene collection that I have here. But you can, for production environments, you can have a scenario where you can see up to 8 different scenes at a time. You can see what you're previewing and what you're showing out to your stream. This gives you a lot of control if you're doing something a little bit more professional. I personally use this a lot in my day-to-day because I do work in the broadcast industry, and we do use OBS for a lot of our stuff. But the other thing you can do is you can projector any individual source, scene, or your OBS preview. So if you want to have a window of your OBS preview at all times on, say, a second monitor, you can projector out your preview, open it to a window, you can fit the window to its contents. And you can always have this window, even if you have OBS minimized, you can always have this somewhere on your screen if you only want to be able to see your preview. You can also do this with individual sources. You can projector an individual source, an individual scene, and you can do this full screen on a monitor. So if you just want to see your entire output on another screen at all times, you can do that. I think that's all of the big things I wanted to cover. There's a lot of things in OBS. There's a lot to discover. I do encourage you to kind of look around and just poke at things. Just kind of remember what you did so you can undo it after if you want. But there's a stats window. There's other docs. There's scripts there's a couple that come with the program. You can download community made ones. There's a lot of really powerful stuff out there. I have a couple custom plugins installed of my own. There's so much you can do with OBS, and I've only kind of scratched the surface here. But I do think there's some things in here that I think people might not realize. Even like rearranging docs, the different themes. I think it's a really powerful program. Is basically what I'm saying, and hopefully, at least something in here was new or interesting to you, and you got something out of it. So that's it for me. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a good day.